Hi, and welcome to my April 29th video update. You know, it seems you're really never, ever finished fine-tuning your audio for video recording. Or I guess if you're doing podcasting and other things that are just audio only. I still struggle with the best way to capture audio in some situations. You know, although I've been very pleased with the results that I get when I use my Video Micro over my head and strung with a longer wire and plugged into my EM1 or EM5 Mark II. The audio quality, I believe, is really pretty decent. When I recorded my last update, I had decided to position myself in front of these shelves that are right over to my right now. And I used my iPhone 7 Plus as usual, as I'm doing today, but it was a little bit too far away. It was about I'm about 3 feet away now, and I'm able to plug in the SmartLav Plus. But I was further than that, so I couldn't use the SmartLav Plus because it would have been the cable would have been too taut. So instead, I used my Video Micro, which is already set up over my head, positioned it close, just above my head, and plugged it into my Tascam DR40 recorder that I've talked about. And it was obviously still recording. I'm using Filmic Pro, and it was obviously still being recorded on the iPhone, and it was being recorded on the Tascam. And I figured that Tascam audio would be better. Well, when I compared the two audio tracks, the Tascam was certainly good, but the iPhone 7 wasn't that bad. And as I say, I was only about maybe 4 feet or so plus away. It's amazing how this little iPhone picks up audio as well as it does and produces fairly decent quality. I mean, compared to using your camera and using the onboard mic on a camera, that's not very good. I had another scenario. So last week I recorded another PTT, Photography and Technology Tools episode. And in this episode, I needed to walk around a little bit because I was putting things in my bag and so on. And so I planned to use the overhead video mic, as I normally do. And the span across which I was going to be walking didn't seem to be too bad. But when I checked the audio from a test recording, if I turned away from the camera, which I was going to be doing a couple times, the volume went down enough that it was a little distracting, or it seemed to go down enough that I thought it would be a little distracting. So I decided to record using my iPhone and the Rode SmartLav plus the Rode Rec app on the smartphone, on my iPhone. And when I was finished and I compared the audio tracks from those two recordings, the Video Micro recording wasn't bad at all. When I would turn away from the camera, it went down a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as it was when I did the test. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there. However, ironically, when I tested the audio I was really going to count on, that which I was getting from the SmartLav Plus, there was a little bit of fading in and out. So again, I didn't understand why that was happening because I'd been happy with the recordings I've been getting with the SmartLav Plus, the few that I've done. So I did a little more research on settings and so on, and I found one guy's video, and he used his recommended settings, and I think when I did a couple tests, it didn't seem to fade. And so I need to do another comparison test between the camera with the Video Micro and the SmartLav Plus with my iPhone. But I expected my conclusion from that little experiment to be that I would always use the SmartLav Plus and my iPhone as a recording device for separately recorded audio for my videos when I had to be moving around. And couldn't count on a good, like outside, because using the Video Micro attached to the camera this is not going to give me the kind of audio that I want, audio quality. And I don't have a boom or anything. I don't have anybody to hold a boom mic, so that's not going to work. So I've got to, the jury's still out on just which way I want to go with this. So follow that up then with a little test I did with this little Olympus voice recorder, which I got and retails for about $60. And I'm going to do an episode on this mic, this recorder specifically, so I won't go into a whole lot of stuff. Just to compare the difference in size, though, this is even smaller than an iPhone in some ways. If I can't really put this in my pocket very easily, when I'm wearing shorts and so on, but this for sure I could put in my pocket. So I did a test and plugged in the Rode Video Micro with an adapter that changes the Rode's plug from a TRRS with the 3 rings, and it converts it to a TRS plug, so I can use it with this recorder. One of the concerns I had was this wasn't going to power it. Like that mic has to get power from whatever you plug it into, and I can't. As I've mentioned before, I can't use it with the Tascam DR40 because it provides too much power. Whereas this little Olympus voice recorder does provide power, obviously, and it's not going to be too much. So I can use it with that, and that gives me and this actually gave me a decent sound. My experience before has typically been just putting this in a shirt pocket and using it to record like a tour guide or something, or people talking in the room, and that's not great audio, or it's not great audio quality. So what's the point of all this rambling? Basically, don't discount anything before you've made sure that you've tested it and that you've made sure that you have the settings set the way they should be. The way they should be part is the most difficult part, because you've got to find somebody who's going to advise you on that. But what I've decided as a result of these experiences is that whenever I want to use my iPhone Plus as my recording device, and I'm too far away so that I can't use the SmartLav Plus, I'll use this little Olympus recorder, because it does give me, it's only MP3, it's not WAVE, so it's a compressed audio, but for my purposes, I'm not going for super professional, and to my ear, it sounds okay, which is kind of ironic since I wear hearing aids. But it's good, I think, for what I would use it for. So that brings me to the latest thing, and that is that I just did a photography and technology tools episode this past week on using comparing the use of the Tascam DR40 with my Audio-Technica microphone versus the iPhone, as I'm doing right now with the SmartLav Plus, and my feelings about when I will use which, and which one I think, and why I would choose one over the other in certain situations. Okay, so a little bit lengthy, I'm afraid, but this audio thing is really something to get your head around. And if you're kind of getting into this filming process, understand that you probably want to put most of your emphasis in the beginning on figuring out your audio and getting it right. The video, especially with equipment we have today, like a smartphone, is almost the easiest part of the whole process. So thanks again for checking in, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week in my next video update. Goodbye.